Okay, everybody, welcome back to another Likutey Maran Shir. I'm Shaya Sussman. This, I believe, is our 26th Shir inside learning Torah's Rabbeinu, the Torah Rebbe Nachman, Torah's Panemius, Torah's Hanister. For those of you who don't know, the classes are on the Breslov Research Institute YouTube channel and website, as well as on my SoundCloud. You can find it Nach Daily at the SoundCloud, or Shaya Sussman for further classes. So tonight I wanted to learn with everybody a small snippet from a Reb Nosson in Likutey Halachos, and I have the screen share, we'll pull it up. And I wanted to continue also in the theme of Eretz Yisrael, because now we're in the middle of the 3 weeks, and the previous Torahs that we were learning, these last bunch of shiurim, have all been on the topic of Eretz Yisrael. It's a topic that's very close to my heart, and Eretz Yisrael is really one of the essential themes in the Torah. As many of you know, I give a Nach Daily class, and Baruch Hashem, we're in Sefer Ezra now. We're ending the end of Ksuvim. We've done every parak of Nach in 5 minutes or less, starting from Yoshua all the way through Malachi. Then we did Ksuvim, every parak of Tehillah, Mishlei, Iyov. We've done it all. And there's one main theme that runs through the entire Tanakh. It could be said that the entire Tanakh is about Eretz Yisrael, which means most of Tanakh is the Jews are, right? Moshe wants to go to the land, the Torah ends. He can't go into the land. Yoshua picks up, he's bringing us into the land, right? The Yoshua conquers most of the land, not the entire land. And then it comes Shoftim, they're on the land, they're off the land. And then all the Nevi'im, Achronim, Yeshaya, Yechezkel, Yirmiyah, the Treyasar, the Jews are sinning, you're going to get thrown off the land, you're doing good, you're going to get back on the land, and the 10 Shvatim get exiled, they're off the land, Yirmiyah goes and gets them, tells them to come back, they're back on the land, and, Kamat, the entire Tanakh could be summed up as you're on the land, you're off the land, you're back on the land, So you see that Eretz Yisrael is one of the main themes in our religion, in Yiddishkeit. And as we daven 3 times a day, right? Hashem should open up our eyes to see Tzion. So it's really an incredible thing. And again, being that Tisha Ba'av is right around the corner, and we're during the 3 weeks, what better time to strengthen our Amunah in Eretz Yisrael, our Amunah in the land, to have longings and desires to go to Eretz Yisrael, visit Eretz Yisrael, and connect to the Avira Zach V'nach, the clean, fresh air of Eretz Yisrael. That's Machkima, that makes a person a little bit wiser. And so we're going to see tonight from Reb Nosson, and we're also going to open with a piece from Rav Kook in Orot that he talks about it. And the main theme in this year is going to be about the land of desire, about how we have to have the inyan of having gaguim, the inyan of having longing, the inyan of just pure ratzon, of desire, of being in Eretz Yisrael. And we're also going to touch a little bit on the Meraglim. Reb Nosson ties it together, because we know around this time, right, Tisha B'av, the Chazal say, you cried for nothing, b'chiyah shel chinam, right, about going into the land. So I'm going to give you something to cry about for future generations. And we know that Tisha B'av happened on the day of the Meraglim. And we're going to get into a little bit about what their sin was, at least according to how Reb Nosson explains it in one area in Likutey Halachos. So I have all the screen shares, because I know we're learning mostly from Likutey Halachos today. So I have the screen shares, and I guess we'll just jump right into this exciting topic. Okay, let me pull up the screen share. Okay, first I wanted to start with a piece from Rav Kook in Orot that is exactly the same as we're going to see from Reb Nosson. So it's an incredible piece. I have, you guys could see the screen share. Give me the head nods. Head nods, you could see it. Okay, this is Orot, Eretz Yisrael, letter Daled. That's what we're starting with. And we'll just jump in. Efshar la'adam Yisrael sheyeh masur v'ne'eman l'machshavosav v'hegyanosov. It's impossible for a person to be dedicated and reliant and trustworthy, rely on his thoughts and his feelings, ra'yanosav v'dimyosav, his ideas and his imaginations, his creativity, b'chutz la'aretz, in diaspora, outside of Eretz Yisrael. It's impossible for a person to be so reliant on their thoughts, feelings, ideas, and perceptions in chutz la'aretz. Ukituchunes hane'emanos hazos be'Eretz Yisrael, like a person can rely and trust their perceptions as they could in Eretz Yisrael. Hofas hakodesh, the appearance of holiness, be'ezim midraga shehen, in whatever level they're found in, nikios hein be'Eretz Yisrael lefia erech. It's clean, right? The appearance of holiness is clean in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael. Ubechutz la'aretz mu'aruvos hein besigin v'klipos merubim. And in the diaspora, in chutz la'aretz, the appearance of holiness and kadosh is intermingled with klipos merubim, with psoles, with different false ideas. Amnan lefi goldel, and this is really what I want to highlight over here. Amnan lefi goldel hachuka v'hakasher sha'adam la'eretz Yisrael. However, according to the great longing and desire and connection that a person has to Eretz Yisrael, Harei ra'yanosav muzduchachin miyesod avira de Eretz Yisrael hachofef al kol misha mitzape l'roso. His minds and his perceptions and his ideas, his emotions get clarified and get cleaned from the fresh, clean air of Eretz Yisrael, of the land of Israel, that every person desires, that hovers on a person who desires to see it. Like the pasuk in Shaya says, Simchu es Yerushalayim v'gilu ba kol oveha. That Yerushalayim, you should be happy and rejoice in Yerushalayim, and it will be revealed to all that love it. So you see that loving Eretz Yisrael has that desire to love Eretz Yisrael is what makes it appear. So just to summarize, again, outside, what does Rav Kook say? That a person's perceptions in chutz la'aretz, in the diaspora, are very different than a person's perceptions in Eretz Yisrael. That we have perceptions here, and they're hard to trust and they're hard to rely on, but there's something magical, there's something special about Eretz Yisrael that clarifies our perceptions, that clarifies our minds, and we're able to trust those judgments more. Additionally, and this is really going to be more the main theme of tonight, that even if that according to a person's longing and gaguim and desire and ratzon for Eretz Yisrael, that is how much they get from the avira zach v'nach, the clean, fresh air. As we know, I'll say, and Rav Kook is bringing this over here, that the air of Eretz Yisrael is machkimas, makes a person wiser. So you see that when a person longs and connects and has a tremendous yearning for Eretz Yisrael, even in chutz la'aretz, even where they are, even if they're not in Eretz Yisrael, but according to a person's longing, that's how much they're able to connect to Eretz Yisrael through their desire, and they're able to benefit from the clean, fresh air of Israel. Obviously, this is spiritual, it's physical. It means the air of Eretz Yisrael, but there's something about it that's metaher, that cleanses out a person's perceptions of their mind. I even saw once, I couldn't find it inside, I saw it years ago, but I saw even in the Bir Lekutey, which is one of the Perushim on Likutey Maran, he asked this question about how was it that tzaddikim were able to attain, as we've been learning in another piece, in one of our previous year, we saw that Rabbi Nachman said it's impossible to be a kosher Jew outside of land of Israel. So how is it possible, the Bir Lekutey asks, how is it possible for a person for any of the tzaddikim really to attain their high levels in chutz la'aretz? How is Rabbi Nachman able to attain his level? How is the Vilna Gaon able to attain their level? So he answers al derech zeh, exactly what we just learned, that he says that through their longing and through their yearning and through their ratzon to go to Eretz Yisrael, that was mataher their perceptions, that they were able to draw from the light of Eretz Yisrael, even in chutz la'aretz, in order to have these clarified perceptions. So it was their desires and their longings and their yearnings to be in Eretz Yisrael, which allow them to maintain their great levels, even in chutz la'aretz. Okay, we could stop this year here now, guys. We're done. Just joking. There's more. But wait, there's more. go back to the screen share over here. Okay. Now we're going to start Likutey Halachos. This is from Reb Nosson. Amazing. It's just like a page of Likutey Halachos, and we see how amazing Reb Nosson was. It's a whole Likutey Halachos is so many volumes, 8 volumes. Every page in Likutey Halachos is a gem. So here's Likutey Halachos, Or Chaim, Hilchos, Birchos, Harey'ach, Halacha Hey, Zion, and Aleph. Just before we jump in, a quick word on Likutey Halachos for those of you who don't know. Reb Nosson wrote the panemius of every single halacha in Shulchan Aruch, and he wrote the deeper Kabbalistic explanations of everything as he went through Shulchan Aruch. So it's written, or there's 3 volumes Or Chaim. I think there's 2 on Yeridea. There's 2 on Choshen Mishpat. There's 1 on Ibn Ezra, and they're full, thick, nice-sized volumes. And he wrote on every single halacha in Shulchan Aruch, and a discourse could be as long as a page, or it could be as long as 40 or 50 pages. And you see, he really incorporates everything. Additionally, he writes how the halacha exactly expresses what Rabbi Nachman was talking about in specific language, a specific lesson. So it's very common, and I love learning this way also. We've done this in this year before, to learn a lesson in Likutey Moharan, and then learn to its corresponding Likutey Halachos to get a better idea. But you don't have to learn it like that, and you could just learn it really inside straight. Okay, so this is, we're just picking up over here, and I broke it up into paragraphs for the screen share. Ki ikar haratzon zochen al yedei Eretz Yisrael. The main ratzon, the main desire a person is able to get through Eretz Yisrael. Ki sham be'Eretz Yisrael ikar ha'aras haratzon. Because in Eretz Yisrael is the main place for illuminating a person's will. In order to have longings and desire to come close to God, like it says, Ratzitzi Hashem Artzecha. I desire, Ratzita Hashem Artzecha. Hashem has desired our land. So you see, desire and land go together. And also Chazal say, Shenikra Eretz. Why is it called Eretz? Al Shem HaRatzon. Eretz is synonymous with desire. Kimosha Amru Rosinu Zachonu V'Racha. Lama Nikra Shma Eretz. Why is it called Eretz? Like Chazal say, Shehi Meratza Es Piroseha. That its fruits are desired. That's why it's called Eretz. Eretz from the word Rotze, from the word wanting. The Al Kain is Baruchu Kama Shvatim She'artzam Malaya Ratzon. And therefore there were several Shvatim, tribes, that their chelek in their land, their portion in their land was filled with desire. Kemoshe Kasav, Naphtali Sovei Ratzon, like it says by Naphtali, he was filled with desire. Ukasiv Uratzon Shochne Sneh, and like it says by one of the other Shvatim, I'm not sure which one, that they lived in the Shochne Sneh. They live amongst the Sneh. So you see, just do the screen share over here. Sneh. So again, Rabbi Nachman is bringing that the word Eretz itself, Eretz Yisrael, comes from the word Ratzon, comes from word desire. And how does a person have desire? They get desire through Eretz Yisrael. Okay, we'll go back to the share screen. Ki ikar haratzon. I'll add one more word on this. To add one more word on this point over here about Eretz Yisrael and desire, that I was speaking to my wife, Effie, recently, and she was saying, you could check out her. She's on the BRI also, if you want to hear her women's shir in Sichos Haran, giving a plug for the shir. She was saying recently, she was telling me that she was speaking to a non-religious Jew, and the person said, like, what do you like about Eretz Yisrael? Like, describe it to me. And she said, this is going to sound crazy to you. Like, I can't really explain it, but the best way I could explain it is magical, Like, it's a beautiful story because, like, there's a certain magic, there's a certain, mysticism, there's a certain oomph, there's a certain unique quality that you can't touch it. You can't put your hand on it and say, oh, well, that's it. But there's a certain vakus, there's a certain connection that everyone feels when they go. And this story, she was saying, well, it's magical. I feel a certain level of magic there. And there's a certain level, there's a certain level of longing that the entire Jewish nation feels for Eretz Yisrael. That you know, even if they're not religious, people are connected to the Jewish nation in as much as they're connected to the land of Eretz Yisrael, right? When they want nothing to do with Eretz Yisrael, they become less connected. Even if they're not connected to the Torah, they still feel some sort of longing. They feel some sort of connection to Eretz Yisrael. And as much as they're divorced from that connection to Eretz Yisrael, is as much as they have no connection for many, even to the Jewish people, to the Jewish nation. But Jewish identity nowadays, and for many, many people, is all about Eretz Yisrael. And it just goes to show that there's a certain deeper pneumius aratzon, there's a certain deep longing that they have that connects them to the Jewish people through the land of Eretz Yisrael. And one last point on this point over here is that I always think that, like, the whole world is really obsessed with Eretz Yisrael, right? We know that there's genocide in other countries. We know that they use chemical warfare in Syria. We know that there's atrocities happening all over the world. But yet a Jew builds a house in Eretz Yisrael and it makes national headlines. Like, what? Like, you build a house in a place that's already a Jewish neighborhood, and the whole world becomes obsessed with the very fact that you're building a road in Israel, right? You see that there's a certain koch hamoshech, there's a certain magnetism, like that the whole world is drawn to Eretz Yisrael on the deepest levels. There are atrocities happening all over the world, and the UN, they could care less about them. The only thing that they're interested in doing is condemning Eretz Yisrael. It's because Eretz Yisrael, Eretz, the land, it's the land which is synonymous with ratzon, synonymous with desire. So in many ways, the whole world desires for Eretz Yisrael. The whole world, in a deep way, really, really desires to come to Eretz Yisrael. So you see, it's a wild thing. You know, we build a house, the whole world goes crazy. Like, who cares? Like, you build a house, like, it really makes a difference, right? But it's subconscious in their minds. They know that it's planted there.
So would you say that the people that are the Jews that are involved with BDS, that's also the koach of Moshech of Eretz Yisrael, that even their mind is still filled with Eretz Yisrael, but just not in the way that we typically would think would be.
Yeah, just to speak that out over here, Tani's commenting and saying that even with BDS, you see that people are against Eretz Yisrael, right? But nevertheless, you see that they're obsessed with Eretz Yisrael, right? They're because if they didn't care about it, they just would have no organization against Eretz Yisrael. But deep planted within the subconscious psyche of seemingly mankind, and for sure the Jewish nation, Hashem planted a desire for this land. That there's something that goes way beyond the subconscious mind, something spiritual, that the whole world is obsessed with the land. There's one land, right? It says by Avram Avinu, Vayara es hamakom. You know, he saw the place, right? He's looking for the place. That everyone wants to find the place where is the umbilical cord of creation, which is the Makom HaMikdash, where the divine ideal gets manifest like a pipeline and through this world. You know, this is a little bit tangential. I think I've maybe mentioned this before, that the Ramchal in Sefer Mishkanei Elyon, it's an amazing sefer. You can even buy it in English. It's incredible. They translate this stuff. The Ramchal, in his Kabbalistic description of the third Beis HaMikdash, based on the Psukim in Yechezkel that describe the third Beis HaMikdash, the Ramchal writes that the Evan Shasiya and the Makom HaMikdash is the super highway where all divine lights manifest into this world. That you have the spiritual lights, you have the spiritual world with many, many roads and many, many lights and intersecting highways and paths. And the way that gets manifest into this world, it gets manifest through Harabayas, through Eretz Yisrael, and to spread out to the entire world. So really, Eretz Yisrael, in specific, the Makom HaMikdash, is the information superhighway. It's the umbilical cord of creation where the divine ideal gets manifest in this world for everyone. And it goes from there to Yerushalayim, to the other parts of Eretz Yisrael, and out to the world. As Eretz Yisrael is the lave of the world, it sends its pulse to the entire creation. So you see, everyone is obsessed. Everyone is obsessed with this because they're drawn towards it. Okay, back inside. Ki Because the desire, a person, to come close to God, they get zochet through Eretz Yisrael. Kisham meir ubnit notzates elokuso yisparach, because over there it reverberates and illuminates divinity. Kamosha amru rosinu zerachel, like Chazal say, hadar be'eretz Yisrael doma kamisha yeshlo elokav. A person who lives in the Holy Land, it's as if they have a God, right? And the inverse, if they live in the diaspora, as if you don't have a God. Because the illuminating of the will, of desire, the concretizing of desire, which is an aspect of the Reach Tov, a good fragrance. Now this has to do with Rabbi Nachman's lesson. Rabbi Nachman explains that our neshamas have a Reach Tov, a good desire, and that good scent. And that good scent is where all our life force is really derived from. But it's not as relevant to the point over here. And the main scent, a good smelling scent that's amazing, that flickers divinity. For this we long with a strong yearning, bli shiur, that knows no bounds, who rak be'eretz Yisrael. This flickering of divinity, that a person has tremendous longings to come to God, close to God, is only in the Holy Land. Shenikra Eretz HaMoriah, that we know it's called the land, Har HaMoriah, right? That's what it's called, the mountain of Moriah. Al Shem Harey'ach Tov Shel Ketores. That this word Moriah, Har HaMoriah, comes from the good smelling fragrance in the incense. That was a Moriah, like more drawer. This frankincense was a Moriah. It had a good smelling scent. That Eretz Yisrael provides a good fragrance to the world. The Al Kain, Nichnesu Yisrael Eretz Yisrael betchila derech Yericho daika. And that's why when Yehoshua conquered Eretz Yisrael, the first place they went to was Yericho daika. Shenikre Yericho al shem reach hatov. That Yericho is connected to the scent, that Eretz Yisrael has a sweet smelling scent, and that's why the word Yericho is synonymous with Reach, which means smell. Kemosha Amru Rabbeinu Zechron Levracha, like Chazal say, Kisham be'Eretz Yisrael ikar Harey'ach hatov, because in Eretz, like Chazal say, in Israel is the main good fragrance. Bechinas l'reach shmonecha tovim, like it says, the scent of your oil is very good. Shehu bechinas hisnoitzitz elokuso yisparach, that this is like the flickering of divinity. She'i efshar ledaber v'zeh klal. It's impossible to speak about this at all. She'al yidei zeh iker hishtoiketz v'haratzon hachazak kanal. So just to recap, Rabbi Nachman saying that a main desire a person can attain only in Eretz Yisrael, that there's a certain good smell, there's a good fragrance that is omitted in Eretz Yisrael, and that fragrance is synonymous, as he's saying, with longing and desire that you get. It's like you smell a perfume and it increases your desire, right? A person wears cologne, so it increases someone's desire. You say, oh, that's good smell, and they want to be drawn after it. So too, Reb Nosson is explaining over here that there's a certain smell, there's a certain scent in Eretz Yisrael that creates a desire and a certain longing and a certain passion within a person. That's why the first city that Yehoshua conquered was Yericho. What does Yericho mean? Reach, a smell, because it was hinting to the good smell of Eretz Yisrael, and that's why Eretz Yisrael is also, the Makom HaMikdash is called Har HaMoriah. Moriah, more drawer, frankincense, the Moriah spice, was one of the things in the Ketoris, the incense. And again, it's to talk about the Reach Tov, the good scent that Eretz Yisrael has, that when you smell that perfume, you just want more of it. And that creates this desire and this longing within a person. Okay, now we could stop here. All right, we'll continue more. Reb Nosson is incredible. You gotta love Reb Nosson. Okay, back inside. Okay, v'gam b'chutz la'aretz. Now back to our original point. V'gam b'chutz la'aretz. Ma shezoichen lepamim le'eze hisnoitzitzus elokus. right? That a person merits at moments to have a certain feeling of divinity. Shehu b'chinas reach hatov keman da'arach reach. It's like this aspect of the sweet smell of the perfume, right? That a person gets a whiff of. And through this desire, through this smelling of the perfume, it brings a person to great passion and desire to Hashem. This also comes from Eretz Yisrael, is rooted in Eretz Yisrael. Kikol kiddush haseinu me'Eretz Yisrael, that all our holiness comes from the land. Ki Yisrael al yidei avodasam mamshichin kedushas Eretz Yisrael chutz la'aretz kiyadua. And the Jewish nation, through our Torah and our mitzvahs and serving Hashem, we bring the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael also where we are in chutz la'aretz, right? That's what it says, that like a shul has a kedushas of Eretz Yisrael, right? That we're mamshich, we draw from the light of Israel. We draw from the Moriah. We draw from the Yericho, the Reach Tov, and we bring that scent of Gan Eden. We bring it, the scent of the Neshama. We bring that even in Chutz La'aretz, to where we bring that to Times Square. We bring it to Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. No matter where we go, we do mitzvahs and we draw from the light of Eretz Yisrael and bring that Kedusha there. About Iker. But the main place where our desire comes alive, which is the perfume, that is the illumination of Hashem. That's in Eretz Yisrael, where the Beis Hamikdash is, the Kelov and its vessels, the Aron and the Aron, the Halachos, the Kruvim and the cherubs, ha'omdim bebeis kodesh kedashim shesham ikar shtoikikus, right? That stand in the Holy of Holies, which is the main longing for. V'ha'ratzon v'ha'ava v'kisufim ha'niflaim shebein Yisrael avinu shemashmayim, and desire and learning and yearning, the amazing desire that we have between our Father in heaven, b'chinas tocho ratzuf avas mebenos Yisrael, that our innards are filled with love for the daughters of Jerusalem. And from there, all desire gets poured out to the world, to every individual, according to how much they connect themselves to Eretz Yisrael, is how much of desire and longing they have for God. And even more so, a person who goes to Eretz Yisrael and is able to live there, and they go l'shem shamayim, and they don't go for alternative reasons; they go for pure reasons. So again, just to recap, that even in chutz la'aretz, a person is able to draw the light of Eretz Yisrael according to their connection. And when a person does mitzvahs here in chutz la'aretz, and when we connect ourselves to Eretz Yisrael by learning the Torah's Hapanimis, Torah's Eretz Yisrael, so then we draw from that Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, we draw to where we are at our station in life. No matter where a person is in life, whether you're in, as I mentioned before, San Francisco, or you're in the Village, or you're in LA, or you're in Times Square, or you're in far off places, you're in Madagascar, or you're in Papua New Guinea, or you're in the Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter where you are in the world, in the most far-off, flung places, a person is able to connect and long for Eretz Yisrael and bring the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael to wherever they are. Because all Kedusha, all holiness in the world gets drawn from Eretz Yisrael. And when we connect to Eretz Yisrael, we increase our desire for Eretz Yisrael, that brings us that extra level of Kedusha. Someone posted on the comments over here, Kyrgyzstan. Even in Kyrgyzstan, you could connect to Eretz Yisrael and find Hashem. As we learned in previous lessons, that Hashem sustains the world through the Derech Eretz Yisrael. We learned that in lesson, I believe it was Ayin Ches. There's a few shiurim on that. On the path to Eretz Yisrael, a person could connect to God no matter where they are, and bring Eretz Yisrael to where you are. Okay, back inside. Okay, aval. Hamaniyut rabim ve'itzumim me'od milavel Eretz Yisrael. But there's so many things stopping us from going. As I'm gonna pause here for a second. Right? He says aval miniyut rabim. Now I want to talk about this word miniyut. You only really find it in Breslov Svarim. It's like a Breslov word, like miniyus. You know, miniyut comes from the word monea, which means to prevent. That there are different things that prevent us. They could be financial reasons. They could be emotional reasons. They could be physical reasons. There could be mental, emotional, spiritual reasons, logistical reasons. There are all different sorts of miniyos. Like this year, when it comes to Uman, Rosh Hashanah, there's a lot of miniyos because it seems like it's closed for Eretz Yisrael. And we're wondering about here, us in Chutz La'aretz, maybe we'll be able to make it in. I think you have to get a special work visa, it could be. If you pay before and you get a work visa, Ukrainians will let you in. Not sure what's going to be with Uman. So there's always, when it comes to a very, very high level of Kedusha, as Rabbi Nachman taught, there's always going to be a counterforce. There's always going to be miniyut, things preventing you. But as I once heard, you have to take the miniyut and you have to make them ni'imut. You have to take the miniyas, the things that are preventing you in life in any area of Kedusha, you have to flip them around and you have to make them ni'imut. You have to make them sweet. You have to stay strong, hold in there, don't throw in the towel, and break through. Hold on, let me go back to the share screen over here. Okay. But the thing stopping us from going are a lot. But through strength of will, and desire, a person can rise above. And certainly a person has very strong desires. Because right away when you think about Eretz Yisrael, you draw from that light. And through the thing stopping you, a person increases their desire. That Hashem sends a person miniyus, difficulties in life, in order, and this is a theme that Rabbi Nachman develops in many places, that the reason why Hashem sends a person difficulties in life is not to knock a person down, but this way a person strengthens their desire. That every hurdle a person has and every obstacle gets thrown in your way towards the finish line, a person's supposed to use those obstacles to strengthen their ratzon, to strengthen their desire. So therefore, Hashem sends a person different things in order for them, different obstacles in life in order to increase their desire. And when a person works over years and years and years, increasing their desire, then they'll be zolched, they'll merit to break through. And this is what we find by Avram Avinu. What does it say? It says, by Avram Avinu, lech lecha ma'artzecha, in the land that I will show you. So Rashi says, right on the spot on that pasuk, why didn't Hashem show him Eretz Yisrael? And he says, the Eretz Asher Areka, in the land that I will show you. Just tell me, go to Eretz Yisrael. Why I have to show, it has to be this whole inside out process of Hashem illuminating Abraham in order for him to find the land. So Rashi says on the spot, the reason why Hashem didn't show him the land is kedei mechavav be'enav. This way it should be more desirable. It should be more precious. That Hashem kept sending Avram Avinu obstacles and didn't show him it right away in order to create more of a longing, in order to create more of a yearning in front of Avram. So therefore Hashem sends us obstacles and difficulties in life in order for us to increase our desire, not back down, and stay strong. Now Rabbi Nachman is going to now tie this together with the Meraglim. So we're going to take a turn over here and we're going to talk about what exactly was the sin of the Meraglim, which is appropriate for now because, again, like we mentioned in the beginning of this year, that this is the time where Tisha B'av happened, that it was because of the Chet of the Meraglim. The Meraglim pagmu bazeh. And the Meraglim, they blemished this. Because they said that the things, the barriers are greater than desire. And therefore, in the beginning, they said good things about Eretz Yisrael. They said it's a land of milk and honey, right? And and these are its fruits. But how did they end? They talked about the difficulties there that were a lot when they came. Because they said we're like nothing, and it's way too big. Amalek Yoshe Ba'eretz Negev, and Amalek sits there. Ki amru davar v'hipucho. They said the opposite. Ki masha amru v'zeh pirya, that this is the fruit. Zeh mora al godo ha'oros haratzon shemeir sham. This pirya, this fruit, teaches us on the main desire that was illuminating at that time. Because of all the fruit and all the desires in this world, it is garbed, it is enclosed in avos elyonos, in upper lofty loves, uritzonos yikarim kedusha, and very high desires. But we need to elevate them and find and see past the superficialness of it. Therefore, the fruits of the land of Israel that were so amazing and big, right? That teaches us about the amazing desire that was illuminating at that time. And therefore, Shibcha Torah Eretz Yisrael b'Peiros. Therefore, the Torah gives praise to the Peiros. Kamosha Kasav Eretz Chlita Sa'or v'Gefen. They say it's a land of wheat and barley and grapes. Because all this teaches us about the desire that was illuminating at that time. So what he's saying is that really the world, the Chet of the Meraglim is they thought the barriers to enter Eretz Yisrael were greater than the desire. That they thought that Hashem sends a person obstacles to knock them off kilter, not in order to increase their desire. But as Reb Nosson is explaining, there's avos elyonim and there's avos tachtonim, which means that there's high level love and there's low level love, right? There's high level desires and there's low level desires. But in everything in this world manifests the ratzon and the will of God. But they didn't understand that, so they backed down. So these fruits were swollen with love. They were swollen with passion. They were swollen with the juices of Eretz Yisrael. And the Meraglim, at that time, they were supposed to see beyond that and connect and say, wow, these fruits, these are amazing. It must be they're rooted in something so much more higher. It must be they're rooted in so much desire and such a lofty thing. And therefore, they were supposed to see that. And that would have been like the Harey'ach tov, this perfume, in order to increase their desire. But instead, they saw the opposite. What'd they say? They said, these fruits are swollen. It must mean it's not good. Who wants swollen fruits? You want swollen fruits? No one wants swollen fruits, right? No one wants, try saying that 10 times fast. No one wants swollen fruits, right? Or fruits that are not perfectly ripe. So they were supposed to look past that and see that these fruits were rooted in the Olamos Elyonim, in the higher worlds, and that was supposed to increase their desire in order to enter into Eretz Yisrael. The Al-Kain, we'll just read a little bit more. The Al-Kain, Mukusher Yafe Masha Amru V'zeh Pirya Efes Ki Aza'am. And this is what it says, that this fruits are like nothing, and they're because the nation is strong. Hainu. They were saying that these fruits are amazing. Efes ki aza'am. No, they're not amazing, right? The nation that we're up against is very strong. That the things preventing, they said, yeah, these fruits are good. Yeah, these are good fruits. But ki aza'am. But the nations we're up against, they're much stronger. They're much stronger than desire. Well, our desire alone is not going to be the thing in order to break the strong nation. Look, you have a physically strong nation. You have Maleki there. You're going to be able to break through? Of course not. Do you think desire? It's not practical, right? And this was their mistake. They denied desires and ratzon's ability in order to break through the barriers. And they said the opposite of the truth. They said, we have no hope. The other nation is strong. That the things preventing us are so strong until it's impossible for us to enter. We have no ability in order to break through with desire alone. And therefore, their error was great, and it caused the destruction of the first and second temples. Because the entire Beis Hamikdash sustains the holiness of the Jewish nation. Through a holy desire. Because in the Beis Hamikdash, it had all the great smells, the perfumes, and the korbanos that would go up to God. Like it says, like it says, it was because of your desire, you served me and brought me korbanos. Like you said, it says it was a pleasant desire to Hashem. So again, I know that was a mouthful to read inside, but what he's saying is, just again to recap and speak out this point, that the whole chet of the Meraglim was, a person looks at the world and they say, that's not practical. What are you going to do? You got to be practical. Tachlis, practical, right? And what does Rabbi Nachman say? If you want to be practical, strengthen your desire. Strengthen your longings. Strengthen your hope. Strengthen your ritzonos, right? And then you'll break through, right? The main way to break through an obstacle is through desire. So, people think, like, say, oh, what'd you do today? Oh, I didn't do anything. Okay. People say, well, what'd you do today? Oh, I worked on strengthening my desire. That means you didn't accomplish anything, right? Rabbi Nachman is saying, no, it's the opposite, right? What'd you do today? I worked on cultivating my desire, right? Oh, that's called accomplishing. That's called you accomplished something today. You did something, right? It's a panemius goal. It's an internal goal, right? And this is what he's saying, that the Meraglim, they looked at the world, and in specific Eretz Yisrael, they looked at it and said, Tachlis, what are you going to do? It doesn't make any sense. There's a strong nation there. There's Amaleki. There's this, there's that. We can never, Ephes Tikva. We have no hope. We can't go ahead and conquer the land. Okay, yeah, we want to go. We have desire, but come on. They're military. They have a strong military. We don't have a strong military. So how in the world are we going to head? How in the world are we going to settle in Eretz Yisrael? Right? Okay, yeah, we want to go, but it's impossible, right? So what they do, they thought that their desire was not enough to break through. And Rabbi Nachman is saying precisely when it comes to Eretz Yisrael, and certainly this is in all areas of life as well, that the more a person cultivates their desire, one, that's considered accomplishing, and two, that allows a person in order to break through the barriers. And the whole reason why Hashem sends you miniyut, barriers and obstacles, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, logistical, whatever there is for a person in order to strengthen their desire, not to back down and give in, but to work on cultivating your ratzon. So when a person throws in the towel and they say, well, there's no point in hope, right? There's no point in kisufim, in longing. So what happens is they wind up giving up, right? You wind up giving up. And really what Rabbi Nachman is saying, that Hashem sends a person difficulties in life in order for them to strengthen their desire, in order to increase your ratzon, in order to increase your hope, and your longing. And then after many, many years and moments and times of increasing your desire, as we say, I don't actually believe this is a chazal, but we say it anyways. Maybe it is a chazal. Someone can let me know if it is a chazal. I don't know, but ein davar omed b'fnei ratzon. Nothing stands in front of a person's ratzon, a person's will. And here, when it came to Eretz Yisrael, they backed down. They backed down, you know. And this limud about desire, it's so important, you know, because we do all sorts of things. People do all sorts of things in life to really squelch their desire. And really, you know, I'll just pick one example. You know, people do drugs and things like that, you know, and people, or they get into addictions. And, you know, Hashem sends us things in order, right? So a person has difficulty in life and they want to change their feeling and they want to feel good and they want to escape whatever it is. So what do? So a person, you know, they start doing drugs or whatever it is, or drinking alcohol excessively, right? There's a difference between use and abuse. They start abusing it, whatever it is. And then they feel comforted from that, at least in the moment. But what they don't realize is that Hashem send a person difficulty in life in order for you to increase your desire to come close to Him, in order for you to work on cultivating your ratzon. So what happens is a person has a difficulty in life, and then they say, oh, I can't handle this, I'm out, and they go drinking, or they go smoking, or they do whatever, partying, whatever it is that they're doing, and it really undermines in a certain way the system that Hashem set in place. Hashem sent you a difficulty in order for you to increase your desire and your ratzon to come to a better place of mental health, to come to a better accomplishing in life, in order to get ahead and tackle your issues. But instead, a person sees the outside world as a sign for them to say, I'm no longer wanted anymore, and therefore I need to go ahead and default. So instead of increasing their desire, which was the whole purpose of the trials and the tribulations and the many difficulties that people face in their life, what does a person do? They wind up squelching their desire and subliminating their desire and not increasing their desire. So in a certain way, it undermines the whole system at play. And this is essentially what they're saying when it comes to Eretz Yisrael, that the whole chet of the Meraglim is that they were supposed to, what they saw in front of them, that was supposed to enhance their desire and longing and passion for Eretz Yisrael. But what did it do? Instead, it knocked them off their seat and they said, forget it. We're out of here. We're not going to do it. So when a person has difficulty in life, it's important that a person needs to see that as a sign in order to cultivate their desire for hope, in order to have better lives for themselves, or to tackle whatever issues that they're struggling with, or to come to a better mental health and better state. Not to subliminate your desire by overeating or emotional eating, you know, stuffing your face, or smoking, or doing drugs, or doing things that again, squelch your desire instead of increasing your desire. Because the more a person works on cultivating their desire, as Rabbi Nachman is teaching, then they're going to break through, right? Even if they fall 1,000,000 times, even if you fell to the bottom of the bottom, right? Even if you fall to the pit of hell, a person works on cultivating their desire from wherever they are in life, and then they're able to break through. Now we'll just do the last little bit over here. We'll do the last little bit just to top off the piece. The Iker Hatikun Haya al Yidei Yeshua v'Kalev, and the main fixing is through Yeshua and Kalev. Shaminu l'divrei Moshe sheyesh koach be'haratzon v'achesha li'izgaber al manias. Right, that they believed in Moshe, that through desire a person can come beat the difficulties. Right, and then through, even though the barriers outside a person seem a lot, through desire alone. So you see, Kalev and Pinchas, they were the ones who connected to the tzaddik Moshe, and they believed Moshe's words, and they believed in the power of desire. They believed in the power of ratzon. And certainly during the 3 weeks, as this was our topic tonight, certainly during the 3 weeks, this is a time to look at the areas of our life and take introspection and see where we're backing down and where can we cultivate desire and say, trust on Hashem's chesed chinam, and trust in Hashem that through cultivating desire, we're able to draw from the light of Eretz Yisrael, bring Kedusha to the far-flung place that we find ourselves in life, no matter where we are. And that far-flung place doesn't have to be a physical place. It could certainly be an emotional place that a person feels like they're in the pits and depressed and anxious and worried and feeling hopeless, right? But through connecting to Eretz Yisrael, through increasing desire, little by little by little, like water on a rock, it will penetrate our lave of Evan into a basar lave, our heart of flesh, and we're able to draw from the clean air of Eretz Yisrael to get insight, to get cleaner perceptions, and to really, really, ultimately, the purpose of it all is to come close to God with the Beis Hamikdash in our days. Okay, that's the end, everybody.
Shaya.
Any comments, questions, letter to the editors?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I could hear you perfectly. Take it away.
Awesome. I just wanted to tell you, it reminded me of something. My grandfather, when he passed away in the summer, end of the summer, like August. The last thing I heard from him of Dvar Torah before he went unconscious for the last time was this time of the year. And he was talking about the Meraglim.
Can I interrupt you? Can you state who your grandfather was? Because people are going to listen to this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
If you do mind, I won't push you. We can leave it.
It's okay. It's okay. He was a big rabbi. Let's just put it out. So let's just say. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so he asked the doctor that was in the hospital. He was a frum doctor, and he asked him. I think in Devarim sometimes it talks about the Meraglim. I know in Shlach it talks about the Meraglim, but somewhere later in Devarim as well. It was that time of year. Anyway, so he asked him that if you look in the parsha, you look at the Meraglim when they reported back. They said some really nice things about Eretz Yisrael, and then afterwards they said, but they're too difficult to overcome, and that was that. He said that if you look at what Yeshua and Kalev said, the pasuk says that they said, I think the words are, Haaretz asher avarnu sham asher avarnu lasur osa tova haaretz ma'od ma'od. That's all they said. They said that the land is a great land. They said ma'od ma'od. They're like extra, like. So he said that the difference between the Meraglim and the Yeshua and Kalev and the rest of the Meraglim was that Yeshua and Kalev, they loved the land. They loved it. It was a gift from Hashem. They loved it. And because they loved it, they were incapable of seeing anything negative about it. That the sin of the Meraglim was that they didn't love the land. It was a gift from Hashem. Yeshua and Kalev, Yeshua ben Nun and Kalev, they loved it. That's all they said. They loved it. And he said that when a person loves something, then they're not capable of seeing anything negative about it. They weren't capable. He said, but the point is that they loved the land, and that's what Hashem wanted. Hashem wanted us to just love the land, not to look at anything else, just love it. And that's just anyway.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
All right. I love Shaya, and I love you.
Wow, I love you too. I love you too.
Awesome. And maybe we're going to go to Uman this year. All the Americans have to go because the Israelis can't.
Someone who knows the truth. Americans are able to go, and as of now, but it's changing by
as of now.
And Binyamin, I'd love to take you. I'd love to take you. No direct flights, I heard, but that's okay. So we'll stop in Moscow. What's the big deal?
Okay.
It'll be cheaper. It'll be cheaper.
Yeah. Kagdila.
Horosho, mister.
Хорошо. Shkayach, I'm going to shut the video off again. I was listening, but now I'm going to shut it off.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Honey, great seeing you.
Anyone else? Binyamin, it's a pleasure, as always. Anyone else want to add anything? Ellie, Johnny.
Great cheer.
I was going to say that Jonathan Gottman, who's a famous relationship expert who runs, I believe, many marriage clinics, and he writes extensively on relationships advice. One of the things that he says is that when a couple gets into some type of fight with each other, as couples do over the course of time, that it's important for them to turn towards each other instead of turning away from each other. And you see that this is also the idea that you were explaining about how Klal Yisrael and Hashem, how sometimes they may get into it a little bit with each other, and it's important to turn towards each other. That you see that the Hashem may send all different types of manias towards a person, and the person has to turn towards Hashem in order to increase the relationship and not turn away.
That's right.
And we see that also in our own personal relationships with our spouses and with our friends and with our family members. That's important even when there's a tough time, that's a time for closening. It's not a time for distancing. Because if the person didn't care and the relationship wasn't important, there would be no tough time. The fact that there is any type of friction is because of care and it's because of love, and it's a time to strengthen relationships.
Beautiful.
Shaya.
Chazal say, there's a pasuk, it says, Achor v'kedem yitzartani, front and back I was created, which is a reference to Adam and Chava, who were created shtei partsufim. They were created as one person, front and back, and eventually that's what Chazal call in Kabbalistic terms Achor ba'achor, back to back, right? That they were, one side, it's like hard to imagine, one side female, one side male, right? It was called Achor ba'achor, back to back. And what the Sifrei Chasidus explain, Reb Nosson explains this in different pieces, that one of our main avoda, it's based on the Arizal really, one of our main avodas in life is to go from Achor ba'achor to panim, right? That Hashem separated Adam and Chava, split them apart, and right, when you're back to back with someone, you don't really have a relationship. You're not facing them, right? And like you're saying, Tani, from this therapist Gottman, that couples that face each other are people in relationships that face each other, so they go to a madrega of panim b'panim, right? And it's a very deep Kabbalistic idea that happens on Yom Narayim, that the tzaddikim work on this avoda called Nesira, that they take the Klal Yisrael from Achor to Panim b'Panim, and it has to do with the facing, connecting, reattaching the Malchus to the Zeir Anpin, which is the Malchus is the Jewish nation, and Zeir Anpin is Hashem, and it has to do with Torah and Tefillah. Reb Nosson explains that we're not holding by Yom Narayim yet. We still have a few weeks. We still have around 7 or 8 weeks till we get to Elul and Tishrei and the Avodah of Nesira. It's something definitely we could talk about, Panim b'Panim, when we get there. So that's another exciting topic about relationships, and how that plays out.
Shkaya.
Okay, everyone. Shkaya.
Yeah.